Hey everyone, welcome to Strange Stories, where we explore near-death experiences and supernatural stories from people who've had a glimpse of the other side. If you enjoy our content, please consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel. Without further ado, let's get to the story of the day. I was 31 years old in the middle of 2016. I remember dying, but this story will not make sense unless I first provide some context. Todd and I met when I was 6 years old. I grew up in an abusive and negligent family. Todd was 21 years old at the time. In our shared duplex, he resided next door. Todd was my rock, my best buddy in the entire world. He came to my aid when I needed it. He came to me when I needed love or a listening ear. He nourished me when I was hungry and quenched my thirst when I was thirsty. I called him so many times in the middle of the night. Before the internet, all I could do was contact him on a dialed tone phone, and he always came to get me. He was a significant part of my life and the sweetest, gentlest soul I've ever met. Fast forward 10 years later, through no fault of our own and due to forces beyond our control, Todd was forced to relocate, as was I. We lost touch. As a 15-year-old, I worried what had happened to my best friend. We had such a deep spiritual connection. We could genuinely hear each other's thoughts, as strange as that may sound. Todd didn't know if I was thirsty. He instinctively knew as he got up to get me a glass of water, without my having to say anything on my behalf. We had such a powerful telepathic connection that I can't put it into words. In the middle of 2016, I awoke to the psychic command, go to the local grocery store. Although I immediately dismissed the concept, it struck me as significant. It struck a chord within my soul in a way that I can't put into words. So I listened and felt it was correct. So I woke up and drove to the neighboring 24-hour grocery store, assuming it was only for groceries. I recall going into the produce section of the local grocery store after 11 p.m. I never shop at that hour. I had a feeling it was the proper thing to do, but I'm not sure how or why. I continued to load my shopping cart with 2 loaves of bread. Then I pushed my grocery cart to the hummus section of the supermarket, which was near the bakery. A man stood there, looking at the hummus. I knew him, even though I was looking at the back of his head. Todd? Todd! I didn't need to see his face. I screamed. It was entirely psychic and non-physical. He had gray hair that I couldn't place, but my spirit absolutely knew who he was. As soon as he heard my voice, Todd turned around and looked about till he established eye contact with me. Todd! I exclaimed. I dropped my cart and handbag and began running towards him. He was completely unaware of who I was. I raced up to him, grabbed him and sobbed. I was missing my best friend. He didn't return my hug because he didn't know who I was. I drew back and tried not to cry so much. It's me, Todd. It's Erin, your lovely lady. He often referred to me as his dear girl. Oh my God, he exclaimed as he drew back. Erin? You are it. He sobbed just as hard as I did. My dear girl, you've grown up. He cried and kept kissing and staring at me. I continued crying and repeating, It's me. It's me. I was missing you. What have you been up to? Sweet girl, he said as he cradled me in his arms. It was not my decision. I wrote you numerous letters. Did you receive them? No, I said. I never received any letters. I thought you died. I sobbed and clutched him tighter as he continued. No, I sent you so many letters and tried to find you. I would never abandon you all. I never imagined you'd do it, I said. He drove me back to the hotel where I was staying, and I had the pleasure of meeting his 2 wonderful girls and reuniting with his lovely wife, who knew me before we were forced to part ways. I don't think this was a coincidence for a second. I never buy for groceries at night. We were supposed to meet again. A day later, I had to say goodbye to my best buddy Todd, who assured me that we would see each other again soon. I cried with him, and I believed him. Before he let me go, he promised to call me on my cell phone in 2 weeks. I kissed him goodnight. Todd resided in another state and needed to return home. When I did not receive a phone call from Todd 2 weeks later, I realized something was wrong. I dialed his home phone number late at night. I waited for the phone to ring and Todd to pick up. He, however, did not. Someone else had done it. "Hello?" she said into the phone. Her voice was unfamiliar to me. "Hello?" I answered. "Is Todd at home?" I apologized for phoning at such a late hour. "Who is this?" the older lady inquired. "This is Aaron." "Above the line," I responded. "Aaron?" she inquired aloud. I recognized that person. Todd's wife's voice could be heard in the background. She answered the phone and asked, "Hello? Is Todd home?" I inquired. "He should have contacted me by now. I realize it's late." "Aaron, I'm very sorry," she groaned and stopped before answering the phone with tears. "Todd had died." I was taken aback. "What?" "I'm so sorry," I sobbed. "I'm truly sorry. It's all my fault." I hung up the phone after that. And this time, I couldn't bear the agony of the truth. "What?" I exclaimed. "My best pal is no longer alive." "No." That much suffering was too much for me. I was in disbelief and couldn't believe my dearest buddy in the world had died. I knelt on the floor of my bedroom, rolled over to my left side, and began to scream and cry furiously. My phone then began to ring. I responded, "Aaron, Todd loved you very much, and he would not want you to blame yourself for this," Todd's wonderful wife said. "I am deeply sorry." I kept crying over the phone line. "Me too, honey," she said. I hung up the phone after we both sobbed. He couldn't be gone for real, could he? I kept wondering. I removed Todd's phone number right away because I couldn't face seeing it on my phone again. I convinced myself that it was not true, but I was deceiving myself. After a few minutes, the anguish of reality hit me like 1,000 bricks to the chest. I couldn't bear the agony. As I rocked back and forth on the floor of my small bedroom, I cried to myself, "He can't possibly be gone. We only recently reconnected. This is completely wrong," I exclaimed. Then I went utterly insane and couldn't breathe or think. I could no longer exist as a human being. My best buddy in the entire world had died. I felt so angry and helpless within. I yelled at the top of my lungs for approximately 20 minutes till I thought I might die of a heart attack. Then I had a heart attack and died. A sharp, searing pain ran down the left side of my arm. Simultaneously, I felt a piercing agony shoot through my heart and entire chest. It was excruciatingly painful. I was sweating, panicked, and out of breath. I have asthma, and I thought I was having an attack since I couldn't breathe. I was in such much anguish that I couldn't even breathe. I adored my best friend Todd, and couldn't imagine living without him. I recall shouting out in pain while gripping my left arm. I felt like death was my only option at the time. I let my body go limp, and the pain consumed me. I relinquished control. Then I found myself standing outside of my body. I was stunned to see that I was still alive and standing outside of my dead body. It was truly rather frightening. I was looking down as I stood over my lifeless body. My eyes were open and a little glazed over as I glanced at my dead, lifeless body. My body was devoid of life. I was perplexed as to what was going on. Then I realized I was no longer alive. I felt nothing but an intense want to remain dead. I don't want to be alive, I thought. I really don't want to be here, I yelled out to the countless beings who surrounded me. There were maybe 30 others in the room with me. I had the impression that they were loving angels, yet they appeared to be very tall humans to me. They were breathtaking. I looked down on my lifeless human body again, and I didn't want to return to it. When I died, I felt my human spirit return to unconditional, never-ending love. I got the impression that I'd lived there before I was born, that I would live again, and that I had existed eternally. I made eye contact with a towering man who returned my gaze. "I'm not going back in there," I informed him. We were both in tears as he said, "We love you very much. It's not yet your time to die. You have to return. We sincerely apologize." Then I got a sense of acceleration and became really nauseated. I expected to vomit, but I didn't. I felt strong vibrations and heard loud sounds that sounded like Pop Rocks candy. I blinked my eyes open and returned to my physical body. No, I need my best friend again," I screamed. To survive, I needed the unconditional love I had just seconds ago. I couldn't take it any longer. I fought with depression my entire life, and this was the worst moment of overpowering misery I've ever experienced. My body carried all of the gravity back to me. I just wanted to feel the same limitless, unconditional, infinite love that I had just felt. All of the agony returned. I screamed in anguish, and then I experienced terrible, sharp, and excruciating chest pains once more. I knew I was dying from cardiac arrest again, since I'd just gone through it, and I was fine with it. "I don't care," I reasoned. "I miss you, Todd. I'd like to be with you." As I watched my body expire again, I found myself saying, "I love you more, sweet girl." Todd said, "Please do not perish." He dressed my soul. "Easy for you to say, jerk." I disliked it. "You just abandoned me here." "No, beautiful girl. I love you," he replied. "I shall always love you. I've always liked you, but it's not your time yet." I couldn't see him, but his words struck a chord within me. I fell asleep on my bedroom floor and slept off and on for 4 days. For days, I wept for Todd. I recall Todd telling me, in words I could feel and hear inside my spirit, "Tell your story. It is significant." And I pledged to do so someday. I still mourn for my best buddy Todd, but I know that we shall be together eventually, as he has promised. I have a feeling that we humans were put on this planet for a reason, but I'm not sure what that is. I believe we shall continue to exist when we die. I tell my tale because I want other people to know that their lost loved ones are still alive and well someplace. I tell my story to let others realize that no matter how alone they may feel in life, they're not completely alone. I promise you that others love you now and will continue to love you when you die, just as much as Todd loved me. I tell my tale to let people know that if they're grieving the loss of a loved one, they still exist and you will be reunited with them, because love is eternal and never dies. Your lost loved one is not really lost, and they're fine. They still care about you. We shall continue to exist after these human bodies perish.